What were the biggest perks about working for the mouse?
Oh goodness, going into the parks all the time. That was actually one of the reasons I had looked at getting a job there. We were moving into the area. I knew I needed a job that would pay bills and keep me busy. And I'm a theme park nut. If you look at my offices, it's just filled with theme park stuff. But Disney is so expensive that there was no way that we could afford to go visit Disney, even living in the area. It was just outside of our price range. So there was definitely a thought of, okay, what can we do to make Disney happen? Well, I could always get a job there. And it happened to be a job that paid more than what the other jobs were, because we were considered technical, which was funny. But it was a good-paying job, relatively speaking, had the hours of flexibility I needed, and it was at Disney. So the fact that we got to take the family in multiple times a year and just enjoy the parks, absolutely love that. All the extras that came with it, and the visits, and the parade previews, and stuff like that, I absolutely loved.
Yeah, I remember, even as a cast member, because word would spread so fast about things going on, I was literally driving through Disney, and one of my cast member friends texted me, "Hey, Celine Dion is about to sing in the lobby at Disney's Grand Floridian for the guests. They're just doing it. I don't know if they were filming it or what, but it was like a surprise, random. It wasn't like they had announced it on, over the radio that a bunch of people were." So it was like literally, if I would have, and I was literally driving next to the Grand Floridian when I got the text. If I wanted to go pull in and see her, I could have. I was actually on my way to go do something, but I just called my husband. I was like, "Hey, do you want to go see Celine Dion?" And we had some kind of other thing we were doing that we couldn't, but we were like, if we weren't busy, we could totally just go watch a mini free concert of Celine Dion, like that kind of a perk of knowing what's going on, like in Disney.
Because there was always something going on.
Always some kind of shenanigan. Or even backstage, the cast members have their own world of like clubs getting together. I go to church. I remember like church groups of like Disney cast member stuff.
Half of our church was Disney cast members.
Half of your church, half my church is Disney cast members. Yeah.
When I went part-time, I was substitute teaching at the school that my wife taught at as well, and one of the things the school did, because so many of the teachers and family members and parents were all cast members, they would actually take their whole entire third grade over to Epcot once a year, and nobody would pay. We would all use our main gates, and we would get every single kid and escort into the park for nothing.
Awesome. Disney, I don't know, does Disney arrange field trip stuff? I mean, what about the people who aren't cast members?
We did it all on our own. And like I said, most of us with our main gates, like mine, I could get 3 guests in at any time. So I would just grab 3 kids and walk them in. And we just kind of filled in the groups that way. We had enough parents. We had a number of them that had the silver main gates because they were management. And so they would walk in, 5 or 6 people at a time. And it was neat. We take in about 100 kids, and none of them have to pay admission.
What about discounts? I mean, for you in general, like as a cast member, like Christmas.
The Christmas discount was wonderful. Most of the time, I want to say I was a 15% discount on things. And even that wasn't at every place. There were dining locations that we didn't get a discount. But the 40% off merchandise at Christmas, and then the salsa sale. I miss the salsa sale.
Yeah. Did you ever go in the, like, they usually have like a little supermarket for cast members. Did you ever go shopping there?
The Cast Connection? Yep. In fact, all of my plates came from there. All my, everything I eat off of came from Disney. Because they were like 75 cents a plate there. My wreath that's on my door actually came from Blizzard Beach originally, and I bought it at Cast Connection.
All of our outdoor Christmas decorations, we've got garland. It all came from like some Disney resort, Magic Kingdom, like nice stuff. Oh, their Christmas stuff is the bomb. Because it's like their actual decorations. It's not like stuff that they just sell to people. It's like they use this to decorate Main Street kind of thing. Like, thoughts and feelings working at Animal Kingdom versus Magic Kingdom versus Epcot versus Studios. I want to hear like some little points on each park, like main highlights.
Differences between the parks. A lot of it was atmosphere as much as anything. I only worked Animal Kingdom a handful of times, and I never got to work at Planet Watch. I was generally kind of out in the street taking pictures of the Tree of Life, and a couple times I got to work with characters, but I was only there a handful of times. So I can't say a whole lot about Animal Kingdom. There's just a different atmosphere in each one. Magic Kingdom, it was all about magic, and the slogan was fantasy, and it really was. And so you get in there, and it was like a whole different world and atmosphere, and everything's magical and wonderful. Epcot felt more mature, if you will. It was more of an adult park, and that was really reflected in a lot of ways, even with the cast members who worked there. They were a little more serious, not saying that they didn't laugh and joke, but it was just a different kind of feeling about it. You didn't feel like you had quite as many young kids working at Epcot, even though we probably did.
Right.
Studios, how do you describe Studios? Studios, in a lot of ways, almost felt like they just felt like they were different than everybody else. We're Disney, but we're not really Disney. We're Studios.
Yeah.
And even to their break room, very nice break room. But it had this, again, this atmosphere of, you've walked into our world now. And you're welcome here, but, just be aware that we're not just Disney, we're Studios. You would especially see it in...
We're not just Disney, we're Studios. That captures it. That should be the slogan when you walk in as a cast member. We're not just Disney, we're Studios. It's probably going to be like that even more after Star Wars Land opens.
Oh my goodness. I mean, and part of it, in the entertainment side, it's that way because you've got the Fantasmic crew. And Fantasmic, for not being the equity superstar performers, they were kind of the cream of the crop. At least that's how they were perceived. As far as entertainment characters, I know the characters, a lot of times I talked to them, and it was, I can't wait to become part of the Fantasmic crew. That was kind of like the ultimate achievement.
Yes, it was! It was! Okay, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, that's good, because a lot of the characters that I worked with and became friends with, that was their deal, is eventually we're going to make it to Fantasmic, and a couple of my good friends, I'm still good friends with, once they got transferred, I remember one was a Donald I met at Magic Kingdom on almost my first day of work there. And she eventually got transferred over to Studios, got to work the parades, and then got into Fantasmic, and it was, I've arrived. So, and so I still give her a bad time. Hi, Anna. But it was different. I mean, it wasn't unfriendly. It wasn't snobby. It was just, this is who we are. You're a different level now.
You're a different level now. Yeah, and I have the series of videos like my Mean Girl stories, and I talk about Hollywood Studios a bit in there. But yeah, it wasn't snob. I did have the Mean Girl issue, but that was like a section. Like, it wasn't my entire time at Disney. But you're right. It was. They weren't. Yeah, I'd say that's a good description. What advice do you have for aspiring Disney Photopass photographers, pros and cons of the job? Because it is something about having you on my channel. Not everybody's going to get into Disney entertainment. It's hard to get in, but it's kind of nice to be able to have your foot in the door. And even if you never do make it into Disney entertainment, like, I guess tell people who are thinking about it. What do you think? What should they know?
There's a lot of ways that I think we had it better at Photopass and entertainment, because we didn't have the heavy costumes and stuff. So, of course, we're on the other side of the camera. We're not actually the ones that are making somebody's day. We're just capturing the moment. So there's that. But honestly, I love the job. I would be very hard-pressed to try to decide if there's a job that I would like more. I did a video where I was trying to think of jobs, and, you know, Jungle Cruise would have been fun. The one thing I never thought about was like a tour guide, but Photopass was just a blast for me. It's like, it doesn't get much better than this. So for people who want to be a photographer, learn how to take good photos. There's all sorts of online photo schools, and they'll teach you things about the rule of thirds and how to line up a picture and things like that. So learn how to take a decent picture first. It helps. You don't have to know that, but if you can't take a decent picture before, you're probably not going to be able to take one afterwards. But they'll teach you how to use the camera. Be willing to be friendly to get lots of stupid questions. Because, I mean, we get them when we're helping the character attendants, but we get them in all sorts of other places too. Cast members or Photopass photographers are an easy cast member to find to ask questions. And you're going to really get a lot of them asked. And of course, a lot of dumb ones. And yes, you really... I can't remember how many times a day I would get asked what time is the 3 o'clock parade at. And you really get asked this. And they're serious. It's not just being a sarcastic goofball. It's, what time is it?
And you have to be nice.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Doesn't mean we always answered it totally serious, but, you know, if you had somebody who was being really a pain in the neck about it, we might give them something different, but... Normally, though, 99% of the time, yes, you were very sweet and gentle and kind. Be prepared to sweat a lot, because most of the photographers are in outdoor locations, and even when the characters that are outdoors get to take a break, the photographers don't necessarily. They get to stay out there and keep working. So you are definitely exposed to weather. Like people. If you like people, you love working with people. And one of the things that my attitude when I came in, because I was a dad, this was easy for me, was I pretended that every family that came up that I saw was my family. So if I'm taking pictures of my family, what kind of pictures do I want to get? And that's what I would shoot.
That is a great tip. And that's what I did, even as a Disney character. You had to pretend that kid was or for me, the closest thing I could think was my niece and nephew, who I could tolerate my niece and nephew, you know, so, and it's, you know, and it's not, it's a lot, you know, to deal with these people day after day after day, and you're seeing everything under the sun. And sometimes you get tested. Did you feel that? I don't know. Am I the only one? You know?
No, there were definitely times. There were some families that the way they behaved and acted, you couldn't help but think, you know, if you were my family, I would have given you a good swift kick in the behind. But thankfully they were rare and they would move on. And, you know, you might get that like in one every 150 families or so. And you could just, all right, you're leaving in a couple minutes and I don't have to deal with you anymore. So, yeah, that's where the patience comes in. You have to have that. But I love being able to make people's days. What can I do to, you know, if I'm capturing your great moment, what can I do to make it even better? So, it's why if I was working with a character even, and, you would get those families that they would walk up and they would be very awkward. You know, what do I say? What do I do? And as a face character, you can respond and talk to them and kind of encourage them. But as a fur character, it can be a lot harder. And so I had a lot of times where I would interpret for the character or try to throw out suggestions and try to help prod the guests into, here, look, have fun. It was one of the things I remember is that people would walk up to me if I was shooting with, say, Mickey. And they would turn to look at me. Does Mickey take pictures? Why don't you ask him?
Yeah, and no, it's great because maybe they didn't have, in your video we were talking about having a list of questions. Maybe they didn't have the list of questions, you just gave them one. So
Donald, of course, was very jealous of Mickey and his stuff. So, hey, look, Donald, they've got a Mickey pen. And it gives Donald something to focus on and react to that maybe there wasn't anything there before. Or if I see something associated with the character and the character hadn't seen it yet, I would try to point it out to them and let them know and give them that point of contact and something to be able to work from.
And that, I love that you mentioned that, just because, especially for someone who maybe they did want to be in entertainment, that's a way to kind of integrate yourself in with the action. Especially with the fur characters, you had more, you could be their voice.
Yes. And that's really what I tried to do a lot of. I didn't want to interfere with the interaction. I didn't want to become part of it, but I wanted to help encourage it and make it better.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm shooting with characters, I was not the reason they were there. I was just there to capture the reason that they were there. But if I could make that whole interaction, that whole focus point better for them and more memorable, then I was absolutely willing to do that.
Oh yes, if you could give advice to aspiring Disney characters from your perspective as a photographer.
If you have the opportunity, and I know this wasn't always possible, and it became less possible later on, if you get a chance to talk to the photographer beforehand about expectations, here's kind of my routine. I like to shoot with the guest camera first and then your camera, or vice versa, because some prefer it the other way around. Or here's how I normally will approach interactions, so here's what to look for with me. That's good. We used to do that a lot more in the first couple years, and then we started switching photographers in and out of locations a lot more, and you lost that, which I was disappointed with. Remember that it sounds kind of funny, but in some ways I almost want to tell the characters, use the photographer as an aid and assistant if you need one. If you're having a hard time communicating or something, definitely make use of the photographer. But at the same time, realize that you are there and the photographer's there to capture that moment. So don't worry too much about the photographer. They're going to let you know if they need something or there's something happening. But focus on the guests, and because you're the reason that they're there. And if you do that, the photographer's going to be able to take care of everything else that they need to. At least if they're decent.
Well, I guess those are all the questions I have for you. So I'll leave a link below in the description box for Sir Willow, for Sir Willow's channel, and as well as the video collab that we did on his channel. So definitely go check that out. I don't know, any last things you want to say?
Oh, it's been fun. Absolutely love doing this. It's been a blast.
Okay, well, I hope you like this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you liked it, if you want to see more. And yeah, have a great week. Have a great day. All right, bye-bye.